Mike here, glad you could join me. And today I have two special guests. I have David Waverly, formerly NASA employee, and as most of you know, Cindy Holland, also formerly NASA employee. And we're going to talk about, are there satellites? And if there are, what type of satellites? David's going to talk just a little bit about the South Pole because he was stationed there. So he's got a lot of cool information, facts about that. And we're going to talk about Cindy. Of course, she worked at Lockheed Martin, which an engineer told her what?
That the Earth is flat.
The Earth is flat, straight from an engineer at Lockheed Martin. Now, if anybody knows if the Earth's flat, Lockheed would know. So, David, let's hear, what did you do for NASA? And tell us about your experiences. I know you worked for Goddard Space Center. Tell us about your experiences at the South Pole.
Yeah. Okay, so I actually wasn't at the South Pole because there isn't a South Pole.
Oh, but, whoa. Is there something to walk on down there? I mean,
well, first of all, Antarctica, regardless of whether you believe in a globe or a flat Earth with a encircled, encompassed Antarctica, Antarctica is a landmass covered with ice, a whole lot. Yeah,
that's
sort of, I mean,
yeah,
everything is south.
Well, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Way to Antarctica. So, I was in McMurdo to put a data ingest system. Now, this was in my career at NASA when I believed we lived on the globe Earth. I bought all the science of space, the vast universe, and billions of stars. I bought into all that, just like most of us did at one point. And so I'm down there, and we put this system in to capture the data. And it's for polar orbiting spacecraft, so that because there's a big data hole in the Antarctic data set, a big hole.
Are you talking about the map part, the part where Hollow Earthers say there's nothing there?
Yes, any map that you would have seen of the Earth showed this huge gaping lack of data in the center of Antarctica. And I can tell you the reason why that is because there is no center in Antarctica. Antarctica's a ring, but I didn't know that then. So we go down there. Now, here's the thing, and I was about to tell you a little while ago, is I set this system up. We were ingesting data. We're retransmitting it offline when there are no spacecraft orbiting over, quote unquote. And about 10 years later, I'm watching a YouTube video, and I'm looking at images on Google Earth of Antarctica. And there's a big gaping hole in the data set for Antarctica on Google Earth. And I'm like, now you got to understand, I personally went there to correct that. So I was kind of like a little weirded out. Like, why in the heck is there no data for this large area of Antarctica when I went down there to correct that? And this is here 10, 12 years later. So I called my old boss and said, hey, Mike, what's the deal? How come we don't have any data, any imagery over the center portion of Antarctica? Make any sense?
You think after 10 years they'd have some data, right?
Dude, 12 years.
12 years, okay.
Yeah, and we spent $500,000, which isn't a lot of money by NASA standards, but on this project to go down there, I didn't even want to go, to be honest. I was newly married to my wife. I didn't want to leave her for 5 minutes. You know what I'm talking about. so anyway, so I go down. I was lamenting the whole time, you guys. Anyway, so I call Mike and I say, what's the deal with this? And he says, well, Dave, they opted out. They didn't want our data. They got a pipe. They got a fiber optic network from McMurdo to Svalbard. Now you got to understand, Svalbard is almost the total other side of the world. Okay, it's one of the most north places on the quote unquote planet. Okay.
Now is this a undersea pipe from McMurdo that far?
Yes. Fiber optic pipes under the ocean from McMurdo Station all the way to Svalbard. Now even on a flat Earth map, it's freaking far, okay?
So wait a minute. Supposedly we have satellites. We have all this great space technology.
Yes.
Why the heck do we need a fiber optic pipe from
McMurdo? Listen, that's what I'm getting at. So he's telling me this, and this is what he's telling. And I'm going, now I don't even think I believe that I knew about flat Earth yet then. This is what was leading up to my going, holy crap. we're deceived. So I'm on the phone with him, and he's retired at this point from NASA. I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Why the hell? He said, well, they opted out to send the data to Svalbard. That's the Norwegians, okay? And that they would process the data and sell it back to us.
What?
I'm just saying. So I'm like, okay, this doesn't make any sense at all. Doesn't, Now remember, how many guys can you talk to that said, hey, I personally went down there and put it in a data retrieval system for polar orbiting spacecraft in Antarctica? You hear that every day, right? Yes, I know that. Yes.
So it's important that everybody understand that you were there to map what's essentially still not there and still not mapped today.
That's right. To fill out an area of data, a huge area that was not there. And it's still not. See, here's the thing. He says, well, yeah, they pipe it over the fiber optic network to Svalbard, and then they sell it back to us. Well, it's still a big gaping hole in the data. Hello.
So 2017, we have yet to map a portion of one of our continents if the Earth is a globe, correct?
And we supposedly, quote unquote, have continuously polar orbiting spacecraft. Guys, listen. There's a whole series of spacecraft that I worked on also, called EOS, Earth Observation Systems. And it was like 5 different spacecraft, and they each looked at different spectrum. One was for atmospheric qualities, another was Terra, anyway. They are all polar orbiters because the whole idea is that the Earth is spinning and these daggone satellites go around and they get a different swath of the world as the Earth spins underneath it.
Right, strip data.
Again, I'm speaking. Huh?
That's called strip data, right?
Yeah. And so, okay, and from a global perspective, that makes sense, right? Okay, so how come there's no data still from the southern part of it? The fact that there's a big gaping hole in the data still.
In other words, nothing mapped. That's what we call a gaping hole in the data. There's nothing there.
There's a map of Antarctica on a globe Earth. I used to have a globe in here for joke purposes. On a globe Earth, anybody that looks at it, you show Antarctica. When you look, go to Google Earth, and if you zoom in, you'll notice that the lines from data scans, they converge at the middle and they become nothing. It's just white. There's no data. It's kind of filled in, kind of like the guy who made the Earth image, right? It's Photoshop because
it has to be. All right, awesome. Now, David, you, Cindy, and I, we were talking about actual what we would call real satellites, not ones orbiting a ball, of course, but real satellites that actually resonate probably on a frequency perfectly in our magnetic field. They have found technologies, and Cindy, you've heard of the TR3, the funny triangle-shaped spacecraft they got. We have aircraft that actually can hover almost indefinitely in tune with our magnetic field. That's what I'm understanding. Cindy, you mentioned a project that you cannot talk about, of course, and we'll respect that. But they are, in most part, what are really satellites, correct? What can you tell us about this, Cindy?
Well, I have not researched that particular aircraft myself, but I can tell you that the research that I've done shows us that the satellites that they claim are orbiting Earth are not orbiting Earth. There are
not flying around the ball, kept in check by gravity by constantly falling and missing the curve, right?
Correct.
Okay.
That are never seen in any photos, by the way.
That's a crazy concept too, that you're spinning around a ball, constantly falling and missing it because you're going 17.
It's a great sci-fi movie.
Yeah, that's science fiction.
Want to create a sci-fi movie? It's a really good topic, but in reality, yes, they're building satellites because I have friends who work for these companies who build them. Yes, sir. There are people who build these and work on these programs, and that's not fake. What's fake is that they are being sent into orbit. That's the part that's fake, and so that's the part that we're researching. We're looking into these anomalies because we know that outer space is not factual. It's created. It's not. It's a sci-fi movie. It's not something that's able to be. You can't go there.
Yeah.
It's
We
just not a
can't
place
get to
you
the
can go.
moon. So Cindy,
can't-
let me ask you, Cindy, I've talked to NASA engineers and they claim, well, I work on satellites. Are you saying that somebody who works at NASA could actually work on parts of the equipment that go on things that are actually going up in the air to hover, orbit Earth, or ride along our magnetic field? Because David, you were talking about they find this sweet spot, a resonating frequency, that they have technology that they can stay up there as long as they stay in tune with Earth's magnetic field. Is it possible employees, Cindy, can build these things and they tell them it's an orbital satellite, but still be functional and be used for maybe one of these platform devices?
It's hard to know what they would be used for because we're not in the know, and most of the people who work on these satellites are not in the know. There's no way they would have an idea of where they're being used or how their functionality actually works, but they are building them. I know I have a close friend I grew up with who works at Boeing, and when I first started posting that satellites were fake, she was very upset with me because she works to build satellites.